Disclaimer, dog customization is not for children. I'm using toxic chemicals as well as sharp and hot tools. Hello my loves, welcome to another episode. Today I will do a centaur doll. This doll is half human, half horse. I imagine centaurs close to nature, so the centaur doll will have a flower theme. I imagine pastel pink and purple with white wings. Let's start. This is today's Kneaded, a Monster High doll. I start by undressing the doll. I also remove the bracelets. Next, I cut the hair as close to the scalp as possible. Next, I remove the tail. I cut the plastic part with a cutter. Now I try to remove the rest of the tail which is stuck inside the doll. I use needle nose pliers for this. I bring water to a boil, then soak the head in the hot water for 10 minutes. The hot water softens the vinyl, making it easier for me to remove the head from the neck pack. I carefully remove the head from the neck pack. With an old screwdriver, I loosen glue and hair inside the head. With needle nose pliers, I remove hair and glue from inside the head. I remove the printed on face with a cotton pad soaked in pure acetone. Wear gloves to do this. I want to give this doll new hair. For this I need a reroot tool, which is a needle cut at an angle in a handle. Rerooting takes multiple hours, but the end result is worth the work. I take a bit of hair onto the needle, then push the needle into a hole in the scalp. I repeat this with all holes. I want to give this doll light pink hair with a purple streak at the hairline. I fill in all areas with hair. After I have rerooted the purple streak at her hairline, I reroot the rest of the hairline with light pink hair. This is how the head looks after I have rerooted the entire hairline. Next I add hair to the hairline at the back of the head. I then add hair to all the holes in her scalp. Once I am done rerooting, I need to secure the hair inside the head. For that I use thick glue, for example Mod Podge glue, and spread the glue with a brush inside the head. I try to cover all hair roots. I then let the glue dry for 2 days. Once the glue is completely dry, I cover the hair with a piece of cotton and prepare the face with 2 layers of Mr. Super Clear UV Flat Varnish Spray. This is the base for the face-up. I then add purple soft pastels to her eyelids to create eyeshadow. I add purple pastels around her eyes. Next I add pink soft pastels to her cheeks. I also add pink to her forehead. I add pastels to her lips and to the bridge of her nose. I add pink soft pastels to her outer eyelids. After a layer of varnish spray, I color her eyes with a white watercolor pencil to create a base for her eye color. After adding a layer of varnish spray, I color the eyes once more with a white watercolor pencil. To build up opacity, I add pigment, seal it with varnish, then add more pigment. I always let my fresh layer of sealant spray dry for 15 minutes. This is very important. I add more purple pastels around her eyes. After a fresh layer of sealant, I add more pastels to her eye area. I add more pink pastels to her cheeks, forehead and nose bridge. Her lips needs more color too. With a kneaded eraser I can remove excess pastel powder. A new layer of sealant and I add more white to her eyes. I draw a white line over her lips to highlight her lips. I also add a highlight onto the tip of her nose. It can take a few layers to make the pastels visible, especially on dolls with darker skin tones. After sealing the face, I draw the eyebrows with a watercolor pencil. I always choose a color close to the doll's hair color. I can remove the watercolor pencil lines with a wet brush. Now I draw the eye shape. I also draw the lip line. I draw a line next to her nostril to make it more visible. Next I draw the iris. I chose a pink watercolor pencil for this. I draw the pupils in black. I draw the outline of the irises with a dark pink watercolor pencil. Remember to always add a layer of sealant to save progress or to build up more opacity. I darken the lash line with a black watercolor pencil. I color the upper part of the irises with a dark pink watercolor pencil. I add more white to the sclera. I draw a white line under the eyebrows to highlight them. I work some more on her eyes. I highlight the inner eyelids with white. I color the corners of the mouth with a dark pink watercolor pencil. I outline the irises with a black watercolor pencil. I add metallic watercolor to her iris to make them glitter. I color half of the eyebrows with a lighter pink. I draw individual eyebrow hairs. I draw the lower eyelashes. I darken the lines with black. I can remove the eyebrow hairs with a wet brush. If I would use acrylics, I could not do this. I redraw the individual eyebrow hairs. I add pink shimmer to her face. I add yellow to her lower irises. This will look orange. I add more white to the highlights on her face. I draw the eye creases. I draw the catch lights in her eyes with a white watercolor pencil. I draw white eyelashes. As always, I add a layer of sealant when I need to build up opacity. I draw black eyelashes. After I find a layer of Mr. Super Clear varnish spray, the face is done. I start working on her body. I have prepared the torso with 2 layers of Mr. Super Clear UV cut varnish spray. Now I add pastels to the skin. I have removed the black gloved hands. I will replace them with lighter hands. I seal the pastels with a layer of varnish. The horse body has spots in the shape of a Monster High logo, but I will cover them with dots of acrylic paint. I am using a dotting tool for this. I use light pink paint and white paint. The hooves I paint with golden acrylic paint. This doll has wings which make it a Pegasus doll. The black and blue wings will not suit my pastel theme for this doll, so I paint the wings white. Once the paint is dried, I flip the doll and paint the hooves on the other side. I add dots of pink and white to the other body side as well. Once the first layer of paint is dried, I paint the wings once more with white acrylic paint. I add another layer of golden paint to the hooves. Of course, I paint the inner side of the wings as well. Once the paint is dried, I paint the hooves with varnish. After a few layers of white paint, I add golden acrylic paint mixed with water to the wings. Once the paint is dried, I cover the wings in varnish. I want to give this doll a flower theme and cut flowers into individual petals. I then add petals to the doll's bust with glue. I add an organza butterfly to the middle of the flower top I just made. I also add petals where the human torso goes into the horse body. I have added a flower and now I glue a half pearl to the center of it. I made a tail for the centaur and add glue to the end of it. Now I need to push the end of the tail into the hole. This is a bit tricky. I add the flower to the tail. I add an organza butterfly to the horse body. With a hair dryer I heat the hole in the head, then I carefully reattach the head to the body. Finally I add flowers to her hair and a ribbon around her neck, and the centaur doll is done. This is Aria, the centaur. Aria is a sweet soul and loves to help the other creatures in the magical forest where she lives. Aria has golden shimmering wings and golden hooves. Her head was fully rerooted with pink and purple synthetic hair. She holds a flower twig in her hand. I added flowers and butterflies to her hair and body. I think Aria turned out really sweet. I replaced her black gloved hands with purple gloved hands. I think the color scheme is more harmonious now than the colors of the original doll. How do you like Aria? Tell me in the comments below. If you want to support me, subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on social media. I also have a Patreon, where I share behind the scenes content and work in progress pictures. Stay safe and be creative.